I did it like right in front of the microphone.
So we're verifying a quorum.
Yes,
We have a quorum. Thank you very much. Verify the posting of the agenda
the agenda has
has
been
been
posted.
posted. Okay. So do we have any announcements of any changes to the agenda?
Yes, we do.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'm going to take my prerogative to introduce a new staff member.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, Keenan Leary, who has been our housing navigator, is leaving us to go to graduate school. He's
Good for
been
him.
incredible. He's going to the University of Chicago. It's really a wonderful thing. And he is being replaced, if he can be replaced, by Miranda Whitworth, who just started, and we're so delighted to have her. And so you're going to be seeing a lot of Miranda, and she's joined our team.
Thank you. Welcome, Miranda. Welcome.
But there are three changes I want to mention to you. On the legislative matrix, there's a position that we're taking. I don't know if you want to change it here off the consent calendar, but we would need your approval to take these positions. We want to change a support from a monitor. It has to do with seniors, and we can talk about it. The county has issued a contract for homeless services that we would like to put later on the agenda since you haven't seen it. We'd like to add that. And we also have an emergency item that just came up today from our business, from our Sharp Business Services. So we need a motion to add those three items to the agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion and second.
Second.
Second. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Comments from the public? Okay, I think I have one, right? That's speaker, right? Yeah, okay, so we have public comment from Brenda. You're on.
Hello, everyone. Brandy Keith from the South Coast Air Quality Management District. I just want to make a quick, brief announcement. There are more details in my announcements, which is included with your agenda packet, but I just want to draw everyone's attention to a couple of public hearings we'll be having on August 2nd at our monthly board meeting. You can participate virtually if you don't want to make the drive all the way to Diamond Bar. But we do have public hearings on proposed amended rule 1148.1, which has to do with oil and gas production wells. So they will be holding a hearing for the adoption of that rule and also for proposed rule 2306, which is our freight rail yards indirect source rule ISR that I'll be holding that hearing on. And also related to 2306, they'll be discussing proposed rule 316.2, which has to do with the fee. So once again, if you'd like to participate in the public hearings, there are virtual options. You can find out more in my announcements that are included in your agenda packet, or you can visit our website at www.aqmb.gov. Thank you.
Thanks for that report. Let's go to the consent calendar.
And I would like to, I don't know if you want to just take that legislative item as part of the consent calendar, or a different item at the end.
What's the
Hey, Jackie, I can hardly hear you.
Oh, sure.
Sound like you have a little voice thing going today,
We
maybe.
have a new microphone.
And we have a new microphone. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, that's a lot.
There's a legislative item that we just added to the agenda, and it's SB 37 to support from a monitor position. It has to do with senior services.
Yeah.
Did you want to, I don't know if you want to take it up right now before we, and add it to the consent calendar, or just make it an item afterwards.
Your pleasure, because it's gonna be your ride.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's just an item, SB 37, what it would do is it would create a subsidy for older adults. The issue right now with a lot of older adults is they're not getting enough from their social security income. The rents are bypassing their income levels. We're seeing a lot of older adults struggling. So what this would do would create a senior subsidy sort of account line items in the budget that would need to be filled by the legislature. So it just creates like a vehicle for that, and they would have to fund it. And so it's something that we would like to support because we are seeing a lot of our seniors being at risk of homelessness.
So we actually had a kind of a wait and see. Now we want to support. So it's, we can take this up under the,
Either the consent calendar or remove it and do it separately.
so it's up to the board here. Do you want to just vote yes or no, or wait till it goes to the next? I'll take a motion. It's up to you guys.
Why does somebody make a motion on it?
Prior. I moved to prior.
There's a motion on the floor. Second,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
Yeah,
motion.
say again, I couldn't hear you, Jim.
go ahead. There's a mo-
You go ahead.
There's a motion to go ahead with the
Support.
To support.
report.
Second,
Okay, there's a second. Go ahead.
Who's the second? Okay. Any opposition? Abstention?
I'm gonna abstain.
I'll abstain as well. It's Palos Verdes Estates.
And then the consent calendar.
Good. Okay, consent calendar. Motion.
So move.
I have a motion. Second.
I'll second.
two of us moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Go ahead.
Any opposition? Abstentions?
Thank you.
I don't know if Hector.
Yeah, he's online.
He's online.
He's here.
Yeah, right there. It's online.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. So we'll go to our presentation.
Do you want to introduce him?
Want me to do the introduction? Okay, so I'm gonna read this bio real quickly. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Hector Gutierrez. It says pronounced Gutierrez, okay. So so he joined the Metro Office of Strategic Innovation as a senior manager in 2023. Currently leads the implementation of the Metro's Mobility Wallet, a 2-year pilot program providing prepaid debt cards to income ineligible participants for access to various transportation options. Hector also supports the agency's planning for the 2028 Olympic Games. And previously, Hector led Metro's community-based organization, partnering strategy and advanced equity fluency projects under the Office of the Equity and Race. With over 15 years of experience as an equity strategist and urban planning practitioner, he has driven capacity building efforts that impact communities and organizations across California. He has collaborated extensively with community-based organizations, philanthropic partners, and civic leaders to advance policy solutions, supporting infrastructure and transportation investments for 2 low-income California. As a systems thinker, Hector helps community leaders design collective impact strategies that focus on innovation and achieving desired outcomes for marginalized communities. Hector holds a master's in urban and regional planning from UCLA and a bachelor's in ethnic studies from UC Berkeley. Hector, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, folks, and thank you for that introduction. I can share my screen and walk us through the presentation that we'll go over the Olympics today. Can folks hear me okay?
Mhm.
Perfect. Great. So today we'll talk a little bit about the Games Mobility Concept Plan and some of the priority projects and work streams that Metro and a number of our partners are working to be hosts to the 2028 Olympics 4 years from now. As many of you know, the Paris Olympics are underway and are going to get started, I believe, tomorrow. And so we'll talk a little bit about what's LA doing to prepare for the 2028 Olympics and Paralympics as we think about the world descending upon Los Angeles to be host. And so we'll talk a little bit about the Games Route Network, the supplemental bus system, and some of the legacy projects that we hope to develop as part of the Games planning efforts. And then I'll touch briefly about some of our funding efforts and strategies that we're working on to really support the work over the next 4 years. And so the goal of the Mobility Concept Plan is to really leave a permanent legacy after the games come and go from Los Angeles. It really is to enable all spectators and workforce get to and from to the Olympic venues, either through public transit, walking, or rolling. It's also to make sure that accessibility is at the forefront, at the core of mobility for all folks that are coming to Los Angeles, but also for the Angelinos that live here and rely on public transit to and get to their destinations, either be that work or family resource centers to really connect them to their families. We are really working in coalition with partners to really make the Olympics happen. Metro serves as the games transport operator for the games during the 2020 Olympics. But as part of that work, we have our games mobility executives, which are comprised of a number of partners across the region that are really supporting different functionalities for the Olympic Games. This includes organizations like Caltrans, LA Department of Transportation, SCAG, MetroLink, City of Los Angeles, and LA 28, the organizing committee supporting Olympics planning. And key roles you'll see at the bottom is really to deliver the games transportation, and really think about the nuts and bolts of how we're going to move the millions of folks that are going to descend upon Los Angeles as we become host in 4 years. And so there's a number of work streams and priority projects that are underway to really support games planning under the Olympics. Here's a snapshot of some of those, and we'll go into some of those in detail. We also have these additional work streams as we kind of think about games planning and operations. We're working on a number of different strategies to make sure that we are thinking about regional traffic demand management, thinking about open streets and connections to make sure that Angelinos across the county are able to enjoy and benefit the Olympics 4 years from now. We're also thinking about how we're supporting access services and building capacity across the transit system and the region to make sure that we are supporting the mobility needs of those that live here and those that come to visit Los Angeles. And so as we think about essential game projects, we have temporary and legacy investments that we're working for. One of the temporary investments that we're making during the Olympic Games is what we're calling the Games Route Network. This is existing roads that would connect competition and non-competition venues via what we call the GRN. It is basically a band of roadworks that that get signage and enforcement to move our transit system to make sure Olympic athletes, the media, and folks get to and from the different destinations. You'll see there, it'll be official vehicle Olympic lanes that we call this. Here are some of the examples of past games where we did some new striping and language for the 2020, 2012 games, the Rio 26 games. And so you'll see something similar that happens across Los Angeles as we prepare for the 2028 Olympics. Here's a map of what that GRN is expected to look like. It's still being finalized, but what you'll see is a connection, right, of those GRN, the Games Route Network, across different freeways that connect different venues, right? You also have alternative kind of freeway and ulterior roadways that are being considered to really transport spectators, the workforce across the region as the Olympics and Paralympics come to the region. One of the additional temporary investments that we're looking to make is the supplemental bus system. Because the number of folks that we expect to Los Angeles, we expect anywhere from 10 to 15 million tickets being sold for these Olympic Games. We expect much more spectators that are just going to come and descend upon Los Angeles and take advantage, of the different industries, sectors that Los Angeles has to offer to really be a destination during those 2028 games. Because there will be limited parking at the different venues, this will be a transit first games. Private parking at the different venues will be limited. Most of that parking will be used for temporary games overlay or security, including, for transportation for credentialed stakeholders. And so the real estate across the different venues will be limited. So spectators will need to travel via our supplemental bus system or our transit system itself, via rail to get to and from the different destinations and take advantage and participate in the games overall. To really support the supplemental bus, we're looking at a number of supplemental bus system infrastructure requirements, including a number of park and ride locations across different mobility hubs that will be developed across the region to really support folks leaving their car at a location, hopping on transit, and making their way to the different venues. With that, we're also looking at infrastructure investments, specifically around some of these mobility hubs that they'll serve as pickup and drop-off zones for spectators. It will be a queuing location for multiple load zones to get to and from the different venues that will partake in the games itself. We also have bus depots, bus staging, and an operations center that will be lifted up during the games to make sure that we're able to transport and address any transit issues that come up as operation goes underway for 2028. The legacy projects that we're looking to support as part of the Olympics is really grounded on a number of different strategies. This includes building out bus-only lanes that are really prioritizing bus transit and providing fast and reliable bus speeds along our next-gen Tier 1 bus lanes, and really capitalizing on the GRN to have it be a catalyst for some of the bus-only lanes that we want to build out as permanent legacy infrastructure for the Olympics. And you'll see on each of these decks some of the work that we've been doing to really apply for funding, understand the existing conditions, and then really working with local jurisdictions to co-design with key stakeholders, when we secure funding to make sure that these investments are taking place along different communities where we will see that legacy and permanent investment for communities long before after the games depart. Another work that we're working at is first last mile connections, really thinking about improving access, safety, and creating pathways and connections to that first last mile connection that folks will be making as folks who walk, bike, and roll to different mobility stations. What we've done is we've done a number of analysis, 3-mile radius of the different venues to see, where we can think about those new infrastructure opportunities within the first last mile priority areas. We've also applied to funding, and we've convened local venue cities to think about how we make some of those investments in key areas that will be critical for the games in 2028. We're also looking at key station improvements. A couple of those stations that we're looking at are places like LA Union Station, the Pico Station near downtown Los Angeles, which will serve as a major hub area for the crypto arena and a number of other stadiums that are in downtown area. We're also looking at 7th and Metro. And our goal is to really provide safe, accessible, and comfortable metro experience for folks that are visiting Los Angeles, but also for our riders that rely on our system to get to their destinations. And so the goal is to really enhance these key station improvements. We've been doing assessments to really understand capacity and see what kind of improvements we can make this around wayfinding, accessibility to really support operations for the games and leave that legacy that we're hoping to support after 2028. We're also looking at speed and operational improvements across the system. We've identified the Metro A and E lines as kind of critical lines within the system to really provide safe, faster multimodal transit options that will encourage folks to travel via transit during the Olympic Games. So we're looking at Washington and Y, Degnan and 7th, Watts Way enclosures to really look at different opportunities to really improve the speed and operation improvements that we'll see along these lines to support the mobility of stakeholders for the Olympic Games. Finally, we're also looking at different mobility hubs across the region to provide and enhance multimodal connections to and from venues, but also have them the transfer and terminus stations while supporting the supplemental bus system, right? So folks can go to these mobility hubs to drop off their car, park in the ride lots, and use transit to get to their destination. Some of the kind of mobility hubs that we've identified include the El Monte, Expo Crenshaw, North Hollywood, and Willow. We've also applied for funding for 5 of these hubs and has secured some funding to really support future development and concept designs around these mobility hubs to really support augmentation of them to support Olympics planning in 2028. To do all this work, we need to think about a funding and advocacy strategy. So there's a number of funding that we've been able to apply to. Some of it has been awarded, some of it is still pending, and we've submitted grants. We're also continuing across, with our federal partners to think about funding opportunities through an advocacy strategy and securing funding that way. We've been able to successfully secure $162 million to the Reconnecting Communities grant. It's a multimodal approach that will include 14 miles of bus-only lanes, 22 miles of bus enhancements across the county, funding for 5 first last mile locations, for 5 mobility hubs, 3 open streets location events for the Olympic Games, 60 bike share stations across the county, and 5 years of Go Pass to support mobility of our community. And so this is just one example of some of the funding that we've been able to secure to really support that legacy investment that we're seeing and hoping to elevate during the Olympics. As we continue to, plan for 2028, we are developing our federal and state advocacy, really thinking about how we are working with our state and federal liaisons to really think about operations, project delivery, and some of that funding that we'll be able to secure as we think about competitive grant funding that prioritizes work for 2028 in the Games, but also leaves that permanent legacy investment that we're hoping to see. A core component of the work that we're doing towards the Olympics is also hosting the Paralympics. And so as part of the work that we've developed an accessibility strategy to really think about how we think about accessibility from the onset of developing and making sure these legacy investments continue within community. It really is an opportunity to improve accessibility and ensure that transportation agencies are working together to deliver the most effective and efficient accessibility solutions for our passengers across the region as we're thinking about the different work streams that I had discussed during the presentation. We've developed a draft report that we'll be socializing with a number of key stakeholders across the region and continue to use it to develop operational plans to really support deployment of the different strategies that we've highlighted here today during the presentation. And additionally, there's a number of other work streams that we are thinking about. These things include things like security, thinking about, again, our regional transportation demand strategy. How do we build out, the best customer experience when we think about integrated ticketing and support for the Olympic Games, right? How do we think about universal basic mobility and making sure that those that are impacted by the Olympic Games are able to get to and from their communities, their jobs, and different locations that they need to get to while the games are happening. And we're also looking, to think about what the game spectator and workforce planning will look like as we think about the supplemental bus, the number of workers that we'll need to bring in to support that supplemental bus system during the games operation and really support what will be the largest peacetime gathering in history in Los Angeles in 4 years from now. I know that was a lot of information. I did it, and if there are specific questions that folks have that you all want me to go through, I could take those questions now.
Thank you, Hector. That was an awesome report, and there's a lot of work that you guys are doing. So anybody have questions for Hector? Yes.
Quick one always. Hector, are the Metro buses going to be able to drive down those Olympic designated lanes, or are those just for athletes and officials?
So that's the goal, to make sure that Metro, as the transport operator during the games, will also be able to use those lanes to support and move spectators across the region.
Yes.
So as far as the regional transit centers go, how are those being located? Have they already been determined, is part one of this question. And then part two is, are there plans for how we can let local businesses do pop-up restaurants and such to serve the populations at these places? How can we make this into a positive for businesses, as well as making it a positive experience for our guests.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of regional coordination that's happening with the multiple agencies that are supporting this. The Games Mobility executives meet on a monthly basis to really think about the different strategies around, where operation is going to take place. How does coordination happen, right? With rights of way that Metro owns, that Caltrans owns, as we think about the development of the Games Route Network, as we think about the supplemental bus system, operation, right? When we think about those specific operational plans that are going to be put in place, if that affects different transit locations or different lines, a lot of that coordination will be happening with cities and other transit agencies themselves. We are working and developing a community relations engagement plan to make sure that stakeholders know that the Olympics are coming, right, and designate some of those opportunities, as you mentioned, for pop-ups, an engagement to be part of the celebration, investments that will happen along, those 60 days of the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games during the summer.
And I'm on the County Local Governmental Services Commission. Would you be willing to do this presentation for them?
Yeah, more than happy to provide this presentation. So, Tito, who works with our community relations team, and I believe liaisons with you all, can connect with us, and we can, schedule a time to share this presentation and deck.
Thank you.
Other questions? Just a real quick question, Hector, with all the issues of crime on the buses and stuff like that, what is being done and how much security are you guys planning on having for this Olympics?
Yeah, so security is one of those work streams that we're working to make sure, it's at the forefront. I think as our CEO has always stated, we want to put people first. And as we know that we're going to play host to the world, right? I think security is a big component of the work to come. We're working diligently within that work stream to think about what does security look like across the system, across the supplemental bus, right? I think what we're in charge of is the transport component of that. I think we'll work with our federal agencies, right? Because it's a world event. There a few years out before the Olympics happen, we'll be doing some engagement around, safety. What does that safety look like? When folks come to the locations for the perimeter or the security checkpoint areas. And so it is a big component. We are putting people first, and we're working diligently to develop multiple strategies to make sure safety and the customer experience is at the forefront of the games.
Thank you. Any other questions for Hector? No? Hector, thank you so much. And we know people are going to reach out to you for other organizations to have you come and give that same presentation. So we thank you for what you did tonight.
Thank you so much for everyone's time.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to Civic Spark Fellows. Becky?
Okay, well, I think you're all going to be in for a real treat. Have been for this last 11 months. We've had 3 Civic Spark Fellows working for us, and they have just been like a breath of fresh air in our office. Extremely needed, extremely helpful, and ready to really advance our programs. And so I want to have each of them introduce themselves and tell you about what they've done while they've been here. And I'm sure you're going to be as impressed as I am. The reason why we're doing it tonight is that Civic Spark is an organization that provides these very, very talented people for 11 months at a time. And the 11 months is over. So we would have to say goodbye to them, but unfortunately, you'll be seeing some of them who are going to remain with us because they really fit into the organization. All of them have actually. So we're going to start with Ann Tsai. You've seen Ann before, and she's already talked to you a couple of times, but she'll tell you about the fact that she really has not been an employee and done all of this work, and that she is a Civic Spark Fellow. So Ann? Oh, very fancy, Ann. You have to go to the podium. Sorry.
Do I have to talk into the mic?
Yeah, you.
Oh, sure.
You definitely do it.
This is public speaking 101.
I think you have to flip a switch.
I didn't know it was on.
There you go. Okay. Down. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Tsai, and for the past 11 months, I've been serving as the transportation Civic Spark Fellow, and I'm here to share about what I've been working on supporting the local travel network. Okay, so a little bit about me. I was raised in Lomita, the little city that could. Graduated last year from UCLA with a bachelor's in ecology, behavior, and evolution, and a minor in public affairs. And it was through my public affairs program that I first started taking urban planning classes, and that's when I first began to be interested in transportation and really to think about how do we build a sustainable transportation future. And so that's what really drew me to the Civic Spark program, and in particular, the local travel network, because it's right here in my own community. And a local travel network really aims to think about how we can change our travel behaviors for the future so that we have a greener transportation system. So in terms of the projects that I worked on, it is twofold. First, I supported the LTN implementation in general, supporting with engaging cities to implement the project and route refinement processes. And then also communications and marketing. So that included developing a social media strategy and leading our community outreach efforts. So in terms of implementation, some personal milestones for me. So I joined the COG right when we were beginning to roll out the El Segundo pilot. So I assisted in planning for the ribbon cutting ceremony in November. And then throughout my service term, I've been able to sit in on those route refinement meetings to help the cities of Lomita and Carson submit their measure and funding applications. And then a few months ago, my colleague Jake and I were able to pitch the LTN to the Lawndale City Council, who decided to move forward.
Yay.
Nice.
A high level view of where we are in terms of implementation. Oh, it's a little small. So of course we have the pilot in El Segundo, and the city is currently expanding the network to its full scope. So they have a funding agreement with Metro. Redondo Beach also has a funding agreement and will be implementing soon, I believe, early 2025. The cities of Lomita and Carson, they submitted their Measure M applications, which is expected to be approved by the Metro Board in September. And then City of Lawndale, we are engaged with their elected officials and staff to complete that route refinement process and get that application in. So next steps for the LTN, of course, again, implementation in Redondo Beach, that Measure M application with Lawndale. And then we just got a Caltrans Sustainable Planning grant to study the gaps in Carson, Lomita, and San Pedro. There's currently no great way to get in and out of those cities on a low-speed vehicle. And then we will be approaching our next cities to implement this project. But the bulk of my work really was contained in the communications and marketing side. So a lot of that focus in El Segundo, of course, because they're the first city to implement. So I was really able to engage with the community in El Segundo on the ground by distributing informational materials. We printed stickers, and then I helped develop and disseminate a survey to collect initial feedback from the residents of El Segundo on the LTN. And so those are some of the stakeholders that I was able to engage with. And so for that survey, I wanted to share a little bit of preliminary results. We've had over 100 respondents so far, and most of the people have seen the turtle sign by now. But as the months went on at the farmers market, I started to see that they were beginning to understand more and more what the turtle was about. At first glance, it isn't super clear to them what it actually means, but people are becoming more aware. And then I thought that it was really notable that 44% of respondents own at least one e-bike, which is more than the percentage of EV car ownership. So more e-bike owners than electric vehicle owners, which is really interesting. And majority of the respondents express that discounts and rebates and whatnot would incentivize them to purchase one of these slow speed vehicles. So I developed 2 social media campaigns to accompany the launch of the El Segundo pilot, Tips from the Turtle and Why Low Speed Vehicles. Those are 20, total of 20 social media posts. And then back in May for Bike Safety Month, I wrote, edited, produced, starred our Bike to Work Day video. So in January, we also launched the monthly e-blast Turtle Talk to provide project updates. And this was Jackie's idea to continue engaging with our stakeholders every month so that we wouldn't lose them, that they would be up to date with micromobility and the progress of the LTN. So we've published 7 issues to date, and we continue to, or I continue to write them monthly. I hope you'll read them. So one of the aspirations of the LTN team is to plan a community ride and drive event, which would invite large numbers of people to come and test ride a vehicle, because we really believe that people need to experience it for themselves. And so in order to do that, we had to invite our local businesses to the table to discuss what we were doing and to gauge their buy-in to participate in such an event. So I cold called and emailed over 60 micromobility dealers in the South Bay. A lot of people hung up on me, but we had 11 businesses represented at our business opportunity breakfast in May. It was a good turnout. Very interesting conversation, getting supposedly competitors to the same table. And then also to plan such a ride and drive event, we asked the city of El Segundo what would be a good event to tag on to do this sort of thing. And so they pointed us to the El Segundo Art Walk. And so we pitched a mobility showcase to them. And in the meantime, Jake and I, we researched comparable ride and drive or walk and roll events that were taking place throughout SoCal. And then we reached out to micromobility vendors to, again, get their buy-in. So it didn't pan out as exactly as we had hoped for with the timeline that we were on, but we will still be having a presence at the Art Walk in August. It's just a very huge event that draws thousands of people, I believe. And it won't be a full-scale ride and drive event, but it will help us get our feet wet and prepare us. And then with the Caltrans grant that we just received, we will have a lot of funding to do a larger scale ride and drive. Okay, so I was here last month to talk about e-bike safety and the e-bike sticker program, so I won't go through all of this again. The major update that I have to share is that earlier this week, we sat down with the Peninsula cities. All 4 cities were represented, as well as the Lomita Sheriff's Department and the Palos Verdes Estates Police Department, and a representative from the school district. And so that was the first time that the Peninsula cities really gathered together to start discussing and coordinating what are we going to do about this e-bike issue and have a uniform message. And then the school district also expressed interest in expanding that sticker program that's currently only at 1 school. So very exciting. And then we are actively pursuing funding to expand this program further. So this is a little miscellaneous. Other research that I've been working on is mapping parking amenities and charging that are important accessories to the LTN. Like we can ask any resident in the South Bay to buy an e-bike, but they need somewhere to park it. And so we asked around and I found that many cities don't have comprehensive information about where they're putting their bike racks, where they're putting their more charging stations, but many cities don't track where they're putting their bike racks. And so I started with, again, El Segundo, and I conducted an inventory of all of the bike, scooter, NEV parking spots and charging stations throughout the city. This was literally me walking around downtown taking photos, and then I generated a map in ArcGIS online. It's very labor intensive, but so the next steps that I would like to pursue is to develop like a crowdsourcing app so that the residents can actually help me fill in those gaps and then move on to our next cities. I think it's just a good governance idea to really write down where you're putting your public works, utilities and all that. So here's. This is a screenshot of what the map looks like. So the bike racks are concentrated in the downtown area and the charging stations are concentrated in the industrial areas. And that's really it for a brief recap of my entire year. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Question, do they have a bike and scooter chargers, or like how does that work? Because every bike has a different.
Yeah, there's no uniform bike charger. So my inventory was just taking stock of the EV chargers that are already installed.
EV chargers.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are best practices for creating e-bike parking?
Oh, e-bike parking is basically the same as bicycle parking. Yes, unless you have shared bikes, which none of the cities here do, then you might be able to offer charging, but again, because there's no uniform charging system, then you can't really do that. So yeah, bike parking, regular bike parking and e-bike parking are pretty synonymous.
We haven't really, I mean, I don't think we've really researched it enough to know that like a bike rack, for example, might not work for an e-bike because of where the battery is. So this is something we're going to be getting into more of because we want to make sure we really understand that if there's any differences there.
We need to create
Because
it.
I think that for all of us, parking lots are revamped periodically, parking structures are revamped periodically. And if e-bikes are such a popular portion of our transit, how people get around, they ride a lot of e-bikes. Do we need to start dedicating certain vehicle parking spaces to e-bike parking that's custom made for it so that they can lock them up? The spaces are big enough for the bikes and so on.
That's actually why we got into the parking in the first place, is to move forward.
So can I just, so you're living in El Segundo and just, now we've adopted this great, program. There, there's always things that you now reflect on that you may would want to change. So one of the things that we had done is we designated 2 parking spots in our downtown area for parking for, the little carts. But very few people, I think, less than 1% of the populace has these carts. So those parking spaces are always empty. So one of the things we're talking about is converting them into an EV parking because there's so many people with EV parking. And then the other thing, what we're doing is we're working with our arts and culture committee because, we have the arts for funds that we have access to some funds there. So creating some type of great art projects in the shape of bike rack or different shapes for bike racks. I know like some other cities around the country has done that. And there's some pretty amazing art pieces that you can use and, make a creative way to put some e-bike parking. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. But I would recommend not take, we've got a lot of complaints from people. Why are those parking spaces there? No one's ever there. And it's such a small populace that has the golf
And
carts.
the spots are really big and the carts.
Yeah,
are
so
nice.
that, if I were to reflect on the program, that would be the one adjustment I would make.
And well, to follow up on that, we have a couple of the cart dealers in town, and one of them approached me to try to get support to convert parking spaces into, you can fit 2 of the little carts into 1 parking space essentially. So it's good to know that.
Yeah, you have to,
Given the number of actual carts that people own, they're not well used, but I mean, in Hermosa Beach, I can tell you, and I'm sure in a lot of our cities, e-bikes, 44% of the people, right?
Right.
Have them. You
Yeah.
respond to that survey. I mean, they're hugely popular.
yeah, so if if we were gonna convert those parking spaces into parkings for e-bikes and come up some creative way to, and then it's funny when you go down like during the concerts down at the beach, the beach life, they have a very creative way to park all those bikes. So they had to expand their parking for bikes during. So we, look at corporate America, they do it well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Relly Matucci from City of Torrance. In the City of Torrance, we actually got concurrence to bring back an item to discuss regulating e-bikes. Because they have become a little bit of a nuisance with kids getting in the middle of the street, popping wheelies, doing little road shows. That's one thing that I think needs to be discussed on a larger scale, is to ensure the safety of the riders and also the liability of the drivers. You know, I mean, these drivers, there's a lot of distracted drivers out there. You know, riding a e-bike, it to me is just as dangerous as riding a motorcycle. They go almost
For sure.
just as fast.
We're pushing for legislation.
I'm sorry?
That's why we're pushing for legislation as far as training. I mean, it's just like driving a car or a motorcycle. We're trying to make sure that we can push legislation to get laws in so we can regulate that.
Yeah, you know, putting the burden on cities to regulate, I think that's something that we should maybe do on a larger
Yes.
scale. I guess the other concern is that in a period of 4 years, there was over 200 deaths on these e-bikes. And, you know, one could argue that if they weren't riding an e-bike, they'd still be alive, right? But of course, they're dangerous. We know that already. This push to put more e-bikes on the streets, to me, I almost think like there should be a licensing, because I mean, like I said, they're just as fast as some of the motorcycles out there. I mean, that's something that we can't just say, oh, you know what, let's just put a whole bunch of e-bikes on the streets, but not really taking into consideration that a lot of people, like 44% of the respondents had e-bikes. I can almost guarantee you most of them don't know how to ride a bicycle safely. And that's where I think there's a concern. I think there should be a push from organizations like that you're in, also to legislate you know, safety, which would require some kind of training, like motorcycle training.
Yeah, that's why we approached it from the school standpoint first. In our research, is the school districts, I think, can be the first responders, because many of the violators are the kids who have never taken any sort of traffic driving school whatsoever. And so we think of it as a success that some schools are starting to take this up, requiring every student who wants to ride their bike to school to secure that safety training, earn their sticker, and then be liable to losing that sticker if they're caught doing something that is illegal, basically.
Yeah, we discussed this at a previous meeting, but the e-sticker program is in a couple of schools throughout the South Bay. So what we're trying to do is see how we can coordinate that to create like maybe a South Bay sticker even. We're starting with the Peninsula because they actually came to us and the meeting was fantastic. And Anne unfortunately did this presentation before she put something else she did. At the meeting, we showed everybody what is it called, a hanger that you can put on a bike that has safety tips that we want to give to police. The city of Lomita has been talking about using them for National Night Out so that people could be using these to put on bikes. And we also have a tip sheet that Ann did that your city can brand. Yesterday, I sent it to all of your city managers, both the hanger and the tip sheet. So we're hoping that you will brand them yourself and get them out. We want to go to vendors and put those on the bikes when they sell them. What we learned at the vendor meeting, which was a fantastic meeting, was that there are 3 classes of bikes. We have a wealthy community here, and people are going off and buying the best bike, which is ridiculous because it's a motorcycle. And these kids don't know what they're on, and the parents don't know either. We have to educate the parents. The Peninsula City suggested, and I thought it was great, we're going to go to the PTAs. We're going to talk to the parents because they don't know what they're doing. Also, they're buying them online. And so they're assembling them themselves and they're assembling them wrong, or they're doing an override on the speed. And so there's all these different issues and we're trying to uncover them and then we're thinking of doing a publication called what do you do? What do you know? What do you need to know before you buy an e-bike? So this is a big issue. And when you say we shouldn't encourage it, for the last 2 years, I think, CARB, the California Resources Board, has been supposed to be coming out with a rebate for e-bikes, and it's supposed to be an any day now. when they come out with that rebate, you're gonna see it everywhere.
The door hanger idea really came from Manhattan Beach, so thanks for that idea. For sample copies of this safety tips flyer that Jackie just mentioned, you guys can pass them around.
But your cities all have them, and we hope you'll co-brand them and use them.
Especially National Night Out's coming for every city.
Right. So as you can see, Anne has really done an incredible job while she's been here, and I don't want to take the focus off Anne. But before since we've done this local travel network, something that Anne isn't responsible for, but that I want to just mention is, we're extremely excited that this week we found out that our turtle has been trademarked. So that's our turtle. I think is that anything else?
And what city did you say you were from?
Nice try.
Yes, grow them well there.
Thank you, Anne. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Anne has been very impressive, but we're gonna continue to wow you with David Hines, who's been working on.
Look at I love our fellow, that's Jake.
Yeah, everybody loves our fellows. We're gonna really miss that. David Hines has been here and he's gonna introduce himself and tell you about the incredible work he's been doing.
Thanks, Anne.
Yeah. Is it on? Oh. Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is David and I'm from the city of Claremont, California, so I traveled
That's
a
a nice
long
place.
way.
Long way.
I'm not on any side. But yeah, so I worked on our greenhouse gas emissions inventories for the COG. I've been with other fellows here for 11 months now. I just want to say thank you all for supporting the program. It's been a great experience and opportunity for me. Yeah. All right, so a little bit about myself. I graduated from Northwestern University out in the Chicagoland area. Yeah, go Cats.
Go civil.
Yeah, majored in civil engineering too, so I have a little bit of background in that. Then I moved on. I wanted to try something new, something different, so I enrolled in the Civic Spark program. Want to get involved in local government, and I like the South Bay area, so that's how I ended up here. And then my current responsibilities are the Climate and Sustainability Fellow, so I work in that related field. And okay, so as I mentioned, I worked on the greenhouse gas emissions inventories, and I'm pleased to say that after 3 years, we finally have some results to share with you all. It was quite a long process, but yeah, we're very excited to share some of our findings. I think the first thing that I want to cover is just the CAPS and greenhouse gas emissions inventories and how they work together. So the first thing, we have our climate action plans, which are used to set goals. They're a matter of regulation and policy set by the state. We then use greenhouse gas emissions inventories to monitor progress and ensure that we're meeting the goals laid out in our CAPS. So that's what the work I was doing is related to. And it's an iterative cycle. So we keep on revising our CAPS once we develop our findings on our greenhouse gas emissions inventories. Yeah. All right, so this is just a timeline of our past work. We've been working for a long time on this type of work. Started way back in 2012 with our first greenhouse gas emission inventory completed for the 2005 and 2007 years. We've also done them for 2010 and 2012. So we have all those historic emissions to compare to our present day. An important year is our 2005 baseline year. That's what we're using to set our goals with and what we use for comparison. And then more recently, we've completed our climate action plans. All of our city councils have approved climate action plans for the South Bay. And we've also completed a sub-regional climate action plan as well. So currently you can see in red, I'm working and finished compiling our greenhouse gas emissions inventories for 2019 and 2020. And I'm working on making those reports for the cities, but I do have our findings for the South Bay. So in order to do this process, first I needed to collect data. So that meant working with our cities to file data requests, getting information from our utilities, gas, electricity, all that kind of stuff. Then, just for understanding, our inventory for the South Bay includes data from all 15 of our partner cities, but excludes unincorporated county and parts of LA. So we're really focusing on our whole city so that we can have more complete data focus on the South Bay. And our emission sources are broken down into 6 emission sectors. This is our transportation, any type of mobile sources is included in this category, then residential, homes, and apartments, things of that nature, commercial, businesses, retail, anything like that, waste, self-explanatory, water, wastewater, and fugitive emissions, so gas leaks and things like that. And then a big thing to note is our climate action plan goals. First is to reduce our emissions from the baseline, which is 2005 again, to 15% by 2020. That's one of our key goals. And our second one is to reduce emissions by 49% by 2035. Now we're going to get into the data. So this is a breakdown of the South Bay's emissions. As you can see, transportation makes up the bulk of our emissions, followed by commercial energy. And then in third is our residential. It's a little small text, so sorry about that. But another thing to note is that for the rest of the categories, they make about 4 to 7% of the emissions, so a lot smaller. And in this graph, we can see all of our inventory years. So 2005 is all the way on the left and 2020 is all the way on the right. And those lines in red are the emissions goals that we're trying to meet. So the cool thing and the very exciting thing is that in 2019, we very easily passed our goal for 2020.
Wow.
So great job for that. And it's kind of hard to tell, but we are very close. Not quite there yet, but very close to meeting our 2035 goal already. So really great.
So we should just stop.
Well, as I mentioned, next step is to iterate upon our goals, right? So reflecting upon what we've done so far and see like, okay, how.
So now you're gonna move the goalpost.
Yeah, but we're doing great. So here is a breakdown of our sector changes. So you can see the percent changes based off each sector. So the first column is 2005 to 2019. I think a notable thing is that commercial energy went down significantly. And we also see transportation and mobiles going down quite a bit.
If you don't mind, what do you attribute that big reduction?
Yeah, I will get.
It's the mandates from the state.
Mhm. Yeah, so cap and trade, I think, plays a big part in it. I think energy efficiency projects play a big role. We also see, and I will mention this later, but I can talk about it. There's also the energy mix. So I think renewable energy has more than doubled since 2005 in terms of our Southern California energy mix. So that also plays a significant role in the reductions that we see. And then the other column is pretty interesting. The reason we did 2019 and 2020 was because 2020 was the pandemic and it really affected the way that we operated in society. So you can see there was a 30% reduction in transportation and mobile sources in 1 year, which is almost double what we saw from 2005 to 2019. And most of that can be attributed to the lockdown and stay-at-home orders. We also see an uptick in residential energy use, so people are staying at home more, right? Moving on. What did these drops in emissions mean? What can we equivalent or make them equivalences to? So I think we reduced emissions by over 4 million megatons of CO2 equivalents, which is, to put into perspective that you might understand, is about 3.7 million acres of forest being conserved. Stopping the emissions from 8 natural gas fire plants or taking 750,000 gas-powered vehicles off the street every year. And as I kind of talked about earlier, reasons why we see improvements are 1, from nearly doubling the amount of renewable energy sources that we've been using, 2, energy efficiency projects such as building insulation, LED, and advancements in energy efficient appliances. And lastly, the advent of electric vehicle adoption. In 2005, it was a previously non-existent market or very, very small. And now we're having in California alone over 800,000 EVs being sold every year, which is about 10% of all new car purchases. So that's a summary of all the work that I did over the course of the fellowship. And in terms of next steps, we're gonna be finishing those inventory reports, developing emissions forecasts based off our projections and data that we have. And updating our climate action plans, meeting with cities and working on those.
Okay, very good. Be shy.
I have one. There's state mandates to do this sort of climate action training. I'm just wondering, to what extent are you finding cities have the capacity to do this on their own because they're mandated? Or is the COG providing a genuine service to offset the expense that our cities would otherwise have to pay to bring in outside consultants?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So cities actually are not mandated to do the work. So the state sets the goals. And then what this does, what the COG has done is work with cities so that we can help identify what a city can do to then help the statement meet its goals. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that.
Isn't that mostly on the manufacturing companies that want them to produce certain number of vehicles? They are mandated to produce, otherwise they have to purchase the credits.
So there's a lot, yeah, so there's a lot of things that are working together. So one is the laws that have come down that affect the purchase of vehicles and clean fuel vehicles. Also the laws that have come down affecting the utilities, and they're requiring them to use more renewable power, right? So that's a huge one, as well as like all the energy efficiency we've been doing. And so those are probably like the biggest things. So it's really a combination of all those things together. Yeah. You need energy and you need transportation to work together.
Speaking about climate action, is there some secret to the HVAC, Jackie, that we might be able to? We heard that on.
No noise.
Go too.
Other questions for David?
I do
No,
want to make,
thank you.
I just want to, it would be interesting to see what happens in the next year. Because I can tell you that, you know, I just had a meeting with some CEOs in El Segundo this week, and all of them are saying that they're now going to mandate people to come back into their office. You know, more, and so that trend is happening. So it'll be interesting to see what that, how that shifts, and especially if how Metro does with their transportation. If they can clean that up, then people will hopefully reintroduce Metro to some of these riderships, but because, you know, all those corporate buildings are sitting vacant and they're still paying their leases, and so a lot of companies are forcing mandating that their employees come back into their office. So it'll be interesting to see what that shifts.
Yes, like what David wasn't able to put on the slides was all of the back and forth he had to do to get all of the data. It's been quite a slog, I guess you'd say, and he's done a wonderful job, so we really want to appreciate it.
He took us to the finish line.
Yeah, very quick, just about like how specific the data we have or can get is, several cities in our COG have joined the Clean Power Alliance, and a couple of them, including ours, has defaulted to their 100% renewable rate tier. I'm very interested in understanding what that does to our greenhouse gas emissions. So
Yeah.
if we don't have that data yet, that's something I think we should keep our eyes on. And with respect to electric vehicle adoption, my understanding has been that regionally, we're ahead of the curve in the state. So our rate of adoption is significantly higher than the statewide data. And so I'm wondering if we have that level of granularity in terms of assessing what our regional emissions are with respect to the type of vehicles people are driving and how they're renewing the
Yeah.
fleet.
I can talk on that a little bit. So the CPA and the cities that are incorporated into it, I thought that was also really significant. So I did some research into that. And although it's really interesting, the reporting guidelines don't say that you should use those numbers or those savings in the reports, so they're not included in here. But I think it would be nice to include like in our reports what is the impact of actually being involved in it, even though it's not necessary. So there's definitely things we could do to represent like the CPA and the impact that it has on those cities that participate in it.
And I would say that we should push hard for that because I've seen the numbers from the Clean Power Alliance for our city, and over 90% of our ratepayers are now getting 100% renewable energy. That's got to be showing up in our greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, thank you very much, David, thanks.
Thank you so much. So our last fellow, but not least, has been doing an incredible job as well. And we're delighted to be able to work with Eleanor Murphy, who's going to tell you all the things she's been doing while she's been here.
Okay. Oh. Hello.
There you go.
Okay. Hello, I'm Eleanor Murphy. Oh, where do I put it?
A little bit of a delay. Is it on? If not, I can.
Yeah, it says it's on.
Okay, I can control it for you.
Okay. So I'm from Brooklyn, New York, a little bit further than my co-fellows, but thankfully I don't make that commute every day. I also graduated from UCLA last year with a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Science and a minor in Public Affairs, and was this year's Energy Efficiency Fellow.
I'll control for you.
So I got to dip my toes in a number of different energy efficiency projects, so bear with me as I give a brief overview of all of them today. Next slide. The first, as you all know, is the South Bay Energy and Climate Recognition Program, which was piloted last year to recognize all of our member cities for their work in sustainability. So you're all awarded points for your work in energy and climate throughout the year, and awarded bronze, silver, or gold at the end of the program year. Next slide. So my work in this, I assisted with progress tracking throughout the first program year and general program function, but mainly I planned the award ceremony. So this was the first annual award ceremony. I know a lot of you attended this, but I invited the keynote speaker, met with event staff, stayed up late to wrap all the succulents in ribbon by hand. I designed the award myself. So the award I made using an AI program and printed that in-house. And next slide. The event was a big success. So it garnered press on 2 local television channels, 3 local newspapers, and 7 city outlets. And these are some pictures of the event.
My succulent is still alive.
Oh, nice. So just an update for all of you for the second year of the program, the second quarter. This is where the cities stand. So since the last update, 2 new cities, El Segundo and Hawthorne, have earned gold in the program. And there are 4 cities at silver, 2 in progress, and the rest are bronze.
Which is why you have the hoopla in front of you.
Yes.
Yes, it's to recognize that your city has achieved the highest rank.
Oh, thank you.
That's for you to take to share with your council.
Oh, thank you.
And we look forward to seeing more cities earn gold this year, and you're all invited to our 2nd annual award ceremony this December.
My staff at Gardena wants a platinum.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
You're in last place.
So the next project I worked on was school district enrollment. So as you're all aware, all of you are enrolled in the SoCal REN, which is the LA County Energy Efficiency Program, but we wanted to get more South Bay agencies enrolled in the SoCal REN. So I was tasked with reaching out to school districts. Next slide. So the COG previously did not have contact with school districts. So first I researched how school districts operate. Then I pulled or warm contacted their boards. So I want to extend my thanks to you all, because in every instance that I was given a superintendent or school board contact from one of you, that led me to successfully engage with that district, and the districts I wasn't able to engage with were the ones that I just pulled contacted and they never got back to me. So then we presented to their school boards and facilitated follow-up meetings. Next slide. So at the school board meetings, this allowed us to introduce ourselves to the board. So usually Jackie would give an introduction, and then Talia would go into an overview of all of our partners' work. which met marketing goals in those contracts as well. This is me being able to present to the Hermosa Beach City School District, which was exciting. And then we facilitated follow-up meetings with necessary staff to actually enroll them in the SoCal Ren and our other partners programs. The next slide. So when I began this process, 4 school districts were already enrolled in the SoCal Ren with 9 remaining. I engaged with 5 districts and 5 enrolled. So this is the list of enrolled and not yet enrolled school districts. So hopefully by the end of this year, we can get the rest enrolled. We'll see.
It's free for them, so.
Yeah.
Great, everything's free.
So the next steps in school district engagement would be to see facility improvements through with the SoCal Ren. So some school districts are interested in upgrading water heaters, which we will help support. I also created a bulletin that I send out to school district contacts using information about the COG's work as well as our partners' work. So we also just emailed about the sticker program, things like that. We're planning on creating an educational webinar for students and parents at Centinela Valley Union High School District in the fall. And of course, making connections to the remaining school districts. Next slide. Oh yes, and I also planned this Kits for Kids ceremony at Hawthorne School District. I know you all just watched a video recap of how that went, but here are some more cute pictures. The next project I supported was the facility equipment inventory. So you all also know about this. This is the pilot project that the COG put on starting 2 years ago in conjunction with LA County and SoCal Ren, where we aim to catalog energy using equipment at municipal facilities. And my work in this, they're going to pop up individually, David. Yeah, thanks. So first I got to learn technical energy auditing skills. This is me inspecting an HVAC unit. Next, I helped prepare materials for program replication. So other councils of governments in the surrounding areas are interested in bringing FAE to their service territory. So Talia and I wrote this 42-page implementation plan, which is going to be given to those other COGs through LA County. Next, I got to present this program to peers. So on the top, you can see this poster at a state conference in Palm Springs earlier this month. And then me also presenting at the General Assembly. And finally, I helped facilitate heat pump water heater upgrades, and other cities are actively in progress for HVAC and lighting upgrade projects, which is very exciting. Here, I just wanted to highlight some key findings. I hope you can read the white text. I think you've all seen some of these numbers before, but across the 46 sites that we inventoried, we found that just by upgrading fluorescent bulbs to LEDs, the South Bay as a whole could save over $300,000 in energy costs. And that energy wasted is equivalent to 993,000 miles driven annually. We also found a lot of HVAC units overdue for replacement or with banned refrigerants. And so we hope that like using these numbers and what we've learned through the whole process, we can get funding and other opportunities to support you all in making those important upgrades.
How much does it cost to change fluorescent lights to LEDs on that scale?
It depends on the type of bulb, because sometimes you can just switch it out and sometimes you need to replace the whole fixture. So we don't have a good estimate of the cost associated with that. That's just the energy savings itself. So next is my communications work. Next slide. So about halfway through my time here, I started an internship in the communications department because I clearly wasn't doing enough. So I mostly helped with website redesign, social media posts, and newsletters. I also got to edit a few different videos and even made that AI voice of Cedric that you all heard at the GA. Nice. So here are some of the posts that I made on our social media channels, either by editing photos or by creating graphics myself. Next slide. This is, I don't know if this is like a video that was supposed to play that just shows that I was doing live posts at the GA. So about every hour I was updating our followers on what was happening. And that was a very successful outreach. And then the next slide you can just go through quickly, David. So I just have a few slides here showing other materials that I created for different stakeholders. So for board members, for CBOs, for school districts, you can keep going. It's just gonna flip through a few of them. For the general public, just highlighting some of the graphic design work that I did. And here are some successful stories that I wanted to pull. So this is not just reflecting my work, but the entire communications team. So Colleen and Andrea, but across all of our platforms, I pulled some numbers from 6 months last year to 6 months this year. So between the number of posts, the views of those posts, the engagement of those posts, and the followership, we increased in every category, sometimes almost doubling. So that's really showing the work of the communications team that I was proud to be a part of. And for my work specifically, the first green business newsletter that I wrote had a click-through rate 4 times higher of that of the industry and COG standard. And the live GA posts that I mentioned were in the top 3 performing posts across our platforms for that period. And finally, I also helped support some GIS work. So I helped support the COG's GIS working group. And I also led a peer leadership group within the AmeriCorps program about GIS. And that is all. I'm very excited to be staying on at the COG, and thank you all for being here.
And this is a picture. This is a picture of our staff meeting where we had a cake for them because we are all going to really miss working with them. Although after a much needed vacation, Eleanor and Anne are going to be back and be with us as employees.
Nice.
So we're really excited about that. And David, we hope to see around too. We hope and he'll volunteer and help us out. So it's been an incredible year with them, or 11 months. And I hope you realize what energy they brought and how beautiful our materials have gotten this year. And it's all because of these great 3 people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jackie, we're going to move on to action items and reports and updates.
Yeah, Kim?
Yeah, so I wanted just to
Just following up from Eleanor's presentation, when she talked about the facility equipment inventory, we've been doing a lot of work with the city of Inglewood, actually. And I wanted just to let all the cities know that this is available to you. A lot of cities are being approached by third-party providers that can do energy efficiency and put together packages a lot of times with solar. And working with the SoCal REN, we can provide a third-party review of anything that the consultants or those firms are putting together. And so we just recently did that for the city of Inglewood. We had a meeting with the third-party provider and the city staff and the SoCal REN technical advisors. And that they used the facility equipment inventory to help do some of the vetting of those projects. And if the city moves forward, they could save over $1 million in energy costs for the life of the project. So it's fantastic. The incentives are close to $200,000. And it's like HVAC, lighting, all kinds of things. We were also able to do heat pump water heaters for the city, but they're going to go ahead and move forward with those outside of this particular project. Heat pump water heaters are available to all of our cities right now. Cities that are in disadvantaged communities, it's 100% of the cost is covered, including labor. And for the rest of the cities, 50% is covered. So it's like a huge savings. So I wanted to let you know that. And then also the SoCal REN has a public power up program, which covers the cost of level 2 EV charging. It's for the equipment and the installation. The only criteria of this is that the site has to be within a 1/4 mile of where the station is going to be. Multifamily, excuse me. Multifamily has to be within 1/4 mile of where the station is going to be. And this is combined with Edison's Charge Ready program. So then Edison covers the cost of bringing the power to the station. And then this program covers the cost of the equipment and like the electrical stuff that has to be done actually at the pump. So, or at the charger. And I think that's it. I think the fellows did a good job of saying everything else. So
Did you want to mention we've put the energy savings from the facility equipment inventory into a letter, which we actually shared with the governor's office and said, if you gave us, asking about money, $1 million, we could replace light bulbs and HVAC units in the facilities we've identified. We would be a pilot for the state and we could show the power of city collaboration. So of course, we haven't heard anything from the governor, but I mentioned it to Ben Allen, for those of you that were at the legislative breakfast, we sent him the same letter and asked if he could help us find funding. We're going to be sending it to the Public Utilities Commission and
I was gonna say, I also talked to some of the CPUC staff and our position was, this is the cost of inaction. Just fund it. Like you weren't trying to get all these goals. Why make all the cities jump through these hoops? Just fund these projects. And so that's what we're trying to do.
so we're looking for that and we can give you updates if we hear back.
Quick question, Kim. Those level 2 chargers, is that just for government facilities or what is that for?
No, they do have to be public. I believe they have to be public, accessible.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be necessarily only on public
Could be a commercial.
property, right? Right, so we can,
They come to you for that.
yeah, you come to us and we can,
Okay.
yeah.
And Kim, I have a question. What you mentioned on the partnership with Inglewood on solar, what exactly did the so-called CalRen do?
Yes, so with Inglewood, they were approached by like a third-party provider that packages energy efficiency and solar installation. And the goal is the company makes money on any energy that's saved. But the benefit to the city is that it's bill neutral. So some of it's like financed through the utility bill, right? So that the city doesn't have to put extra money out. But you have to be careful about this because sometimes there's organizations or companies that are not,
reputable.
And a lot of.
Like crooks.
And then also, sometimes what happens is they cost your solar against your use before you do your energy efficiency and you can overbuild, right? You don't need to do that, but so you have to be really careful. So the SoCalRen at no cost will look at their proposals. They give it to their energy engineers. They have energy engineers that work for companies that they hire, and then they vet those proposals. So if you get approached, please get to us sooner than later, because a lot of times what happens is cities move too far down the road, and they enter into contracts, and then it's hard to add things. Like we were able to find additional energy savings for the city, and now they're going to go back and see if they can add more of these projects. But we were able to work earlier with the city of Inglewood, where we might not be able to do that if a city is just so excited they're just moving forward so quickly. It sounds like a good deal. It sounds like it's too good to be true. It probably is. Please call me. Yeah.
But they said we could trust them.
That was on the internet.
Well, Carson has had a really hard time. Carson's here. No, Carson's not here. Carson has had a really hard time sometimes with some of these kinds of companies, so.
Okay.
So next is homeless services and Ronson's going to give an update on, before you tonight, we have a contract from the county to review, and you've got, I think, a copy. We just got it. It's pretty much the same as our contract every single time. And Ronson, can you explain what this is doing? And also, we'll give you an update on if you remember, we talked about the pledge last time. We'll tell you where we are with that.
Yeah, so the only reason why this contract is not on the consent calendar is because usually they give us a new contract every year and we put it on consent. And that's because you've already previously have approved the dollar amounts. And this time around, it's a little bit different. So we just thought it'd be safe and just put it, take it off consent. But it's just, they've made it an amendment to our last contract, and that's really the major change. Otherwise, the dollar amounts are the same, and then there is no real material changes to the deliverables or anything like that itself. So I just need a board action to approve of this amendment so that we can begin. We can continue the programs that we already have and start continuing ones that the board has already.
I have this, but what's the amendment?
Oh,
And it's in front of, there's like copies.
Amendment one.
Yeah. Amendment
Yeah, and the reason it's not on the consent calendar actually is because we just got it. So it went, I don't put anything on the consent calendar. It hasn't gone to the steering committee unless I note it. So this did not go to the steering committee.
Okay. So everything's the same except for.
But you've seen the scope, yeah.
Okay. So, yes. Question.
Should we send it to the committee since it was added? lately? I mean,
I don't think we need to do that, do we?
Well, we said, we did go through the scope already.
Yeah, the scope's been, yeah.
Yeah, so this is just the contract language and I just wanted to be.
The monetary amounts and everything else is the same. And we have discussed this contract. So.
In that, well, it's probably on that packet right there. Oh, no, that is it right there. That is it right there.
It's online, right?
Probably.
Yeah, it's online,
It's on page.
but it doesn't change.
don't we have to
Oh, that's one.
post it for 3 days, or is that not
Well,
relevant?
we give it as you add it to the agenda as an item. or-
As an item, so technically it was already posted. As an agenda item. So I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Call the question.
Any opposition? Yeah.
What's the difference in the amount
None.
from last time?
It's, there was a slight decrease because our homeless count numbers got better. And so, yeah,
Increase in money coming to us for the program?
yeah, the program.
So what is that?
It was, and again, we have previously discussed this at a previous board meeting. But instead of, I think it was like 2.1 million, we got a little over 2 million this year.
I mean, there should have all of that together so we can see it in context. As if this is the amendment, it should be the regular contract so we can see what the changes are.
I think it's here on page 18. It says on year one, we got 2.3. Plus money on year two.
It's actually, it's the second, it's the second sub bullet. The first bullet, the 2.074. And then 2.127 is the amount that we're getting in year two.
And you have already approved the allocation of that 2.17.
Right.
So this is all just, it's all been approved by the county. It's all been approved by you. And this is the contract language, which has been approved by Mike Jenkins.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, this. Let me see, I have opposed by Torrance, any abstention? Okay, thank you.
I don't have a vote, so.
Okay, and Ronson, do you want to go on and talk about the grants, status of the grants pledge?
Yeah, so, has everyone here knows about the pledge? Anyone here that doesn't know about the pledge? Okay, so good. So that means your city managers have briefed you on it and why we're doing it. We got some good news from Supervisor Mitchell's office. Yeah, they're on board. McCosker gave a positive indication today. And so, yeah, things are moving along. And so where we're at in the process is we're asking our cities to come back to us with any wordsmithing changes. If there's anything material, we'll send it back to you all, to our cities. We hope to get all the changes done by July 31st. And then we will take the final one back to our steering committee and then send it back out to you all to approve at your city council meetings. Today, Governor Newsom issued an executive order on encampments and trying to get cities to start cleaning up their encampments. In the LA Times article. So this is the article today. We don't think this has any bearing on our pledge. In fact, Supervisor Horvath has said that it doesn't have any bearing on LA County because LA County is already doing a lot of that work. So we think we're still clear to move forward on the pledge. Just some other notes. The county is now aware of our pledge, and so they've been talking about it in their meetings. Just today at the deputies meeting, they brought up our pledge as a possible solution. The county's looking to do something too about the grants pass. And so they're right now, discussing it at the county level. And hopefully they'll learn about our grassroots effort to unite our region and show that we're collaborating and making good faith efforts to invest in homeless services. We think we're taking the lead on this issue. And we're very hopeful that, we can be united on this front. And so, and so we're hoping for September, October, depending on how long it takes for this to get through your councils. We're hoping to, have a signing ceremony to all get together and pledge our good neighbor, to have a good neighbor pledge amongst all of us.
I forgot. So our council discussed it. They didn't have an issue with it. The only thing that our lawyer brought up that they wanted to, I guess, taken out was the time frame for the training, just in case we couldn't make it by the end of the year. So they were just iffy on the
December 31st. Okay.
But they haven't let, I mean, so is there somebody he should talk to about if there's any wording or anything?
The attorney just had an issue with it, and then he was the only one that raised that concern, so the rest of the council was asking if that could be taken out, but I don't think they knew exactly what the training was or what it entailed, so that might help.
Okay. Yeah, I think the idea, if it's Lawndale, since Lawndale relies a lot on regional resources, the COG, the facility for the city of Lawndale.
Maybe you need to talk to somebody there.
Yeah.
Okay, follow up with that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do. Rumson, I just wanted to understand the conceptual framework of the executive order. You indicated it's not going to be applicable necessarily to LA County, but my understanding of it, and I just skimmed the headlines, is that this is direction to promulgate new regulations consistent with the Caltrans regulations. Is that correct? Or have you not gotten into the details of it yet?
I'm not 100% sure about the Caltrans details, but but from my understanding, Caltrans currently has responsibility to clean up encampments along Caltrans property, so that underpasses along the freeways, and they have encampment resolution funding for that. So it's a continuation of what they're already currently doing, and maybe just adding a sense of urgency. Alfonso, do you have any?
Well, the one thing that I did read through the executive order, it is gonna increase like the time frame in which they went from 2 weeks to 48 hours notice, and then it has interpretation on if it's considered dangerous by the department, they could immediately remove.
Right.
So that's one of our concerns in terms of my office, because we don't know how fast or how quickly Caltrans is gonna react. And then the coordination we're already working with the funding we put in for Pathway Homes and so on, how is that gonna impact in the speed of that? Because we've done a lot of coordination, especially on the 405 and the 105 of encampment. So at least our concern is that the speed of the cleanups that's gonna happen based on that directive. And also directive gives it to the rest of the other state agencies, so state parks and so on. So at least that's what I understood from.
Or are you saying that the requirement to provide the shelter is no longer valid? You don't need to have that, just.
No, that's not what the governor's order said. It's still to provide shelters, but I think it's very unclear.
Yeah.
Mike Webb actually was quoted in the article, city attorney for the Beach. And he said in here that in his opinion, it won't really change or speed up anything that Redondo Beach is doing. And so, yeah, it doesn't really, and to Supervisor Horvath's point, we're already doing a lot of the stuff that the governor wants us to do. We are offering shelter and services, and I think it's important to note that that is a very key line in our pledge, where we say the court noted that these public camping regulations are not usually deployed as a frontline response to criminalize homelessness. Instead, we use our public camping regulations to provide our city employees with legal authority to address encampments that pose significant health and safety risks, and to encourage their inhabitants to accept other alternatives like shelter, drug treatment programs, and mental health facilities. And so based on what I've seen at your city councils, just that line really aligned with what I've heard from you all at your city council meetings. So just wanted to stress that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, obviously somebody's running for vice president over here, but I don't want to make it political, but it sure sounds like it.
Real quick though, he can't be vice president. They can't have a vice president from the same state.
Well, it wouldn't make political sense, but
No, it's
You
not, you
can't.
can't,
It's not
it's,
legal.
it's for.
Not legal.
It's, yeah.
Vice President
It's
and
still
President
unfair.
can't, I just want to be fair to Gavin.
okay.
Whatever they said he was positioned up for 4 years from now, I'd say, okay, but it's not for Vice President.
How does this apply with the Colorado ruling? And how much of this is an actual mandate versus just a suggestion? Because like, it sounds to me, it's a long time coming. I mean, I'm happy he did this, okay, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so whether it's political or not, I'm just happy it's happening. But you know, government, especially Sacramento, has a long history of unfunded mandates. You know, they tell us to do things, but there's really no funding, and it puts a burden on the cities to take care of stuff. Torrance, I mean, we've taken huge steps, and a lot of other cities have taken huge steps and investments to try to, you know, battle this homeless issue. So I guess my question is this going to end up being, hey, you better do it, you know, clean it up or else type of situation? It doesn't sound like it to me, as far as what's being thrown on the table.
Yeah.
But at the same time, where exactly are we supposed to put these individuals that we clean up? You know, I mean, there's really no space to put them. I mean, I think the solution would be to actually build more shelters. Then we can, you know, help these individuals into putting them into shelters. If that's truly a mandate, then give us an option where to put them, because cleaning up is not enough. I mean, we clean up and then they're gonna move right down the street and set up camp again. I mean, where are they gonna go?
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, in terms of the answer to your question, is it a mandate or a suggestion? I mean, I guess in the order today, there wasn't a clear sense that there was anything attached to it other than a directive that there is a want to get these encampments cleaned up. But we're already leveraging state, county, and local funding to provide services and shelter in our areas. So that's it's something we're already doing and we're going to continue to do. And so we can only control what we can do. And nothing in today's executive order changes that.
Okay, so at the beginning of the discussion, we said that LA County is not necessarily part of this executive order, but yet we have most of the homeless in LA County.
No, yeah, what I was saying is that LA County so in their Pathway Home encampment cleanup program, and Alfonso knows this as just as well as I do, they already are cleaning up encampments. One of the first encampments that they did in the Pathway Home Emergency Declaration was at Lenox and La Cienega Boulevard. So Inglewood, Lenox adjacent. That was their first encampment cleanup where they got 50 people off the streets. And they do one of these every, was it 2-3 weeks, Alfonso?
Almost monthly.
Monthly. They just did one in Palmdale. So they're continuing to do these encampment cleanups all throughout the county. And so that's why Supervisor Horvath said it doesn't necessarily apply to us because we're already doing it. And it's kind of the same thing what we're saying too.
It was interesting though, in his comments, at the end of his comments, he basically said, Gavin Newsom, that it's local government's responsibility, it's their job. So what it sounded to me is he's shifting responsibility away from the state to this, now that this is, so it's a shift of.
So he does it. He's gonna do those cleanups a lot quicker, much quicker.
But I bet unfortunately, cities didn't have the ability to do that before. So it's kind of interesting that all of a sudden now there's the Supreme Court has made a decision and all of a sudden you have that responsibility. So it's, you know, it is just it is a play of words and a shift of responsibility. So now I can say, well, it's not the state, it's the city's responsibility.
I think it sounds like they're making officers' life a little better. They can do certain things, but they can't do, what can they do? They remove them, but where are they gonna put them?
So one of the things we're doing in El Segundo for homelessness is one of the things we recognized is that our police officers are trained and we have, you know, social services working with our police officers. But our other departments weren't trained, like our library team, our fire department, our parks and recs. So now we're actually documenting a program where, you know, here's how you handle them from each of those departments interaction, because, you know, we have people that go into the library that you know, if they smell or they're whatever, what is the protocols? Because historically, we've always put it on the police to enforce it, but realistically, we need to empower every team with that responsibility and make sure it's written and public document, so it's clear for everybody to understand.
And that's what the pledge is talking about. Exactly. Ronson, do you want to go talk about senior services?
Yeah, and then just lastly, senior services working group meeting, we had it this week on Tuesday. We talked about the legislation involving seniors. There were 4 pieces of legislation. One of them was SB 37. We also had a good presentation from Redondo Beach's Senior Service Center. And then I also had a reintroduction to Brett Huff's when she was formerly the executive director of Health for Seniors, and they gave an update on their programs and services. So yeah, it was a good meeting. And then our homeless task force meeting is in 2 weeks, and we will send out the agenda shortly.
And on that note, if you want to know more about homeless issues, please join that Zoom meeting.
It's a good meeting.
It's a good meeting.
Next, Butts.
Mr. Butts.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so we had a 4-hour Metro meeting today. So I'm loving this right now.
We aim to please.
So as a result of having to cancel the operations meeting for last week because Secretary Buttigieg visited Division 13, and a number of us met with him, and I got to talk to him about, the transit connector. So it was very worthwhile. And today we talked about a number of quality of life issues. Our real focus right now with Metro is to improve the environment so people want to use mass transit. And the dissatisfiers are cleanliness, the dissatisfiers are safety. And we found there's a connection between safety and people that evade fares to get on the system, right? And so, and also it costs the system money. And so now there's an exit pilot where we go after people where you can't get past the gates to go out without swiping your card again. And let's see what the improvement's been. 15,000 unpaid rides were captured, 11% increase. Another thing that we've done to make the system, we're exploring to make the system more hospitable, is these devices called thrones. And basically they're portable restrooms that are solar powered. They're no touch restrooms, and they are wireless, and they give indicators to the maintenance people as to the condition of the restroom. And so we're going to do that as a pilot in 3 locations. Let me see where those, so in case you guys want to know.
You really have to go to the bathroom. That's the place to go, right?
Well, I mean,
There's one in front of the Union Rescue Mission.
so Westlake MacArthur Park, Willowbrook, Rosa Parks, and the Norwalk Sea Line, and they're solar powered. And then again, talking about safety, we have a pilot program for 2 separate types of technologies. One is that's not right. Okay, one's a screening device that screens people just as you go through the airport for a metal detector. But the other is much more advanced. It's from Guardian Systems. And it's called millimeter wave technology. I went to Minneapolis probably 2 months ago to view the technology myself. And it's based upon a device that's half the size of a cell phone. And it basically can be placed anywhere you want. And it sends out millimeter wave that can go through your clothing, through backpacks, and it is programmed through artificial intelligence to look for shapes that are of any kind of weapon that's been programmed into it. And the beautiful thing about it is the device only needs 3 to 5 volts to operate, and it can be connected to your any kind of light, alarm. It can lock doors. So if it detected a firearm on somebody, we're gonna deploy them at City Hall probably in the next month or so. So if you detect somebody coming into the threshold of City Hall with a firearm, it'll automatically lock the doors. The doors won't open, automatic doors won't open. And so long and short of it is Metro's really getting it together as far as the total culture of transportation, because it's the only way we're gonna improve ridership.
Can I ask a question? Is it locking the doors after he hits it? or
No,
before he gets it?
no. If you were to come, like say, we have automatic doors, right? And so if you came to the threshold, you're within 5 feet. If it detects that you have a firearm, it will lock those doors. They will not open. It'll light a light, it'll set off an alarm, whatever you program it to do. And then you'll deal with whatever, but they won't be inside. And so you could do the same thing from the threshold of a bus. You definitely could do it before you got on a train. So, but this is a pilot that's going to start within the next 60 days.
And the potties, do they have a signal of somebody trying to destroy them?
Actually, they do.
Okay.
They're called smart bathrooms. And seriously, they're smart bathrooms, and they have detectors, detect all kinds of nefarious things that people do in restrooms, and you're allocated 10 minutes before it unlocks automatically. And it's interesting, if you've ever been to Japan, the streets are clean, the restrooms are immaculate. There's a whole different culture about, cleanliness in Japan. I wish we had that here. So what happens is we pay for the difference in culture that we have here by having to put in smart bathrooms. All right, let's see. I don't think you care about elevators. Okay, and I talked about weapon detection technologies. And I don't know if some of you saw Maxine Waters' letter about trying to stop us from getting our first $200 million payment for the ITC. And so this morning, when you wake up, you'll see an op-ed from me about it and how ridiculous it is. But more importantly, she voted with, there's nothing wrong with Republicans, but she voted with Republican members of the House to strip our piece of that transportation bill. But when it got to the Senate put it, it's called reconciliation. They put it right back in. And so everything is as it was. And you'll get to read about my op-ed piece tomorrow. Her position was that the money should be spent for housing. It's infrastructure, transportation money. The only thing that can happen is it'll go to some other state. This project will generate, it's estimated, about 17,000 jobs for people throughout the South Bay and pay 868 million in wages for the 6-year construction period. It would be foolish to resist it. So anyway, things are on point, and I just wanted to make that report.
Thanks. There's a question from Metro.
Oh, no, I just wanted to provide, hi, my name's Andy Seawack, and if you had a chance to meet me, I'm the new community relations manager for the South Bay. I just wanted, our team is really trying to push out to the COGS that the draft environmental impact report is now open for the Northern K line extension. So there are 3 local preferred alternatives available. One will go up La Brea, one will go up Fairfax, one will go west into West Hollywood. I just wanted to alert the COG to that. It was released on Tuesday, and the comment period's open for 45 days. But once this is fully built out, you'll be able to get on a train in the South Bay and go all the way up to Hollywood and Universal City. So sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder from what you're saying.
You never steal thunder from me. Yeah. You had a question, man.
Yeah, back when the bill went back to reconciliation. Does it go back?
It goes to the Senate, right? Because either the Senate or the House can put it forward, and the president when signs it. It doesn't matter what one or the other does. The president has the ultimate say, and as long as it's in somebody's bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Goes to Senate. There's one over there.
Yes.
Thanks for the report. I think you're absolutely right that security and cleanliness are 2 of the disincentives for folks to ride. And we discussed this, I think, at the last meeting. I think the millimeter wave technology, getting folks who want to do harm to other people or who are a danger to other people off the system is a good thing. And then capturing fare evaders, people who are just
Absolutely.
misusing the system is a good thing. I think we also talked about, you also mentioned the possibility of facial recognition software.
That's absolutely part of the ultimate plan. Facial recognition combined with millimeter wave technology. So not only does it, facial recognition is only going to tell you if someone's on probation or something like that. It's not going to necessarily be a bar for them getting onto the onto the modality. However, what the smart cameras will do is then now when someone triggers an alert for having a weapon, their photograph will automatically be captured, then run, but sent to a command center. So there's an immediate dispatch of police resources. So what this ends up is being a force multiplier for the human assets that you use to, police the system. So yes, all of that is part of the mix. That's difficult with buses because there's not the bandwidth and technology to transmit from buses, photographs, whatnot. You could probably photograph them locally, but you won't have the immediate notification. But what you can do is the bus driver will know if someone's getting on the bus with a firearm and they can lock their doors. And the main point is that when people know that firearms and knives can be detected, they won't bring them onto the system. You definitely want to stop people, but more importantly, you want to create the omnipresent belief that you will be captured if you do something on the system. And so it's a discouraging tool.
Just sort of follow up for Aurelio, follows up. What about how do we prevent folks who are just riding the system for shelter? How do we keep them off the system too? Because I think that has a big part of the cleanliness aspect.
You're absolutely right. But one of those things is people that ride the system for shelter don't tend to have a tap card.
Right.
And that's why, and I was going to make the point that there's a pretty high correlation between people that don't pay fares and people that make the system uncomfortable for others. And so this is going to be an evolution.
And then my last question is, I was happy to read that the Metro Board advanced what you had discussed with us previously, which is standing up a transit police agency.
Yes, sir.
And you had mentioned that's going to be an expensive multi-year process. I get all that, but at the end of this process, you're going to have a much more cost-effective law enforcement capability. What's the status of that? What we just read in the headlines was Metro Board approved.
Right now, they're coming back with a report that basically says these are the steps involved. This is what it will cost. This is the length of time it will take to stand up your own agency. This would be the transition period as you grow your force and start to relieve the contract agencies of their responsibilities. A transition plan is basically what's being drawn up.
All right, thank you.
Next item.
I think he had a question.
Oh, yeah, just a quick question about the not facial recognition, but the alert that gets sent out for like if it detects a firearm. Will that automatically put a red flag and
Well, what it's going to do two things. First, if there's facial recognition technology and we're allowed access to databases for law enforcement, it'll do two things. It'll attempt to identify the person if they're in the database and send the alert to the command center as this person, and this is who they're tentatively identified as they are at this location and dispatch, there'll be an immediate dispatch.
Yeah, my only concern is for the legal holders of like a concealed carry or undercover police officers coming in. I mean, you don't want to create a situation where there's somebody that can legally carry, but yet it comes up as an alert. Oh, there's somebody with a firearm, and all of a sudden the whole metro goes on lockdown. But yet that person.
I don't know if all the metros are going to go down lockdown, but I think for the small percentage of people that are legally carrying firearms versus the greater universe of people that are illegally carrying firearms, I don't know that there's even a balance to be worried about. And if I'm a police officer and I know that there's this technology, I'm gonna notify somebody before I attempt to go on a train. But the reality is, I don't see that many non-working public safety people that ride our system.
Well, what happens if an officer's responding, going into Metro, the door's gonna close before they can get to the scene?
Well, it depends on how we structure it, you know, I'm telling you, that's an option to do that, to have it locked down. You could have it just send an alert, a silent alert, a loud alert. But I think in the beginning, you're gonna have probably a multitude of tests to see what's best way to do it.
So they don't have an option to recognize that person's in uniform, even if it's a uniformed officer.
I'm sure that you can. With facial recognition for a bus, that wouldn't be possible because you're not gonna be able to have that capacity on a bus.
Also, carrying a knife is actually legal in California, you know.
Great, we were happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it, but okay, so don't carry a knife on the train. It's legal. Don't do it.
But that's not, I mean, the argument,
I
the
get
only
you.
concern is.
I get you, all the people that carry knives, that they'll be disenfranchised. And my heart is broken about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
The command center you said earlier, is that LA Metro Command Center? Is the LA Metro Command Center will have that connection, or it's gonna be the cities still have their resources?
Condescending.
That wasn't condescending.
It's condescending, you know, just,
I
I'm asking a legitimate question.
didn't mean to be, I didn't mean to be.
Take it someplace else. This is not the place.
I did not mean to be condescending.
All right. I just had a question on command center that you said earlier. So will that be Metro, LA Metro Command Center?
Yes, actually what it'll be a command center, communications division of Metro. We intend to stand up our own communications center. And that's where the alert would go to.
But you're not gonna have cities to help Metro because.
No, sir. We'll have our own communications operation.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, let's move on.
One last transportation thing on August 14th, not for you, but for your staff. Please write it down. August 14th is the next date of our infrastructure working group. At that meeting, it's an in-person meeting, and we're going to go over the Measure R and Measure M eligibility guidelines and local match guidelines that we've had for the last some years. I don't know, not 10 years, but for a while since Measure M. And we want to talk about if we want to change any of those guidelines to affect we had a lot of money, now money is tighter. So that August 14th meeting, we want every staff, even if your city never comes, we would like them to come to the August 14th meeting because it will affect projects that you can apply for Measure R and Measure M in the future. I wanted to mention that. I think we've done.
It was that August.
August 14th. It's Wednesday at noon. We provide lunch if you RSVP, and it's your staff. And then obviously it's going to come to the transportation committee after it's worked out. And by the end of the year, we hope to have a new policy. So this is the beginning of that. The local travel networks next, but I think we've heard everything, including our great new turtle that's ours. I know Wally is here, but we're running late. So I just want to mention that with the digital equity plan, yesterday, a notice of funding came out for a very large grant that we've been working with the county on for digital equity. We're looking at sites throughout the South Bay to look at a digital access center that we can put into a disadvantaged community as a pilot so that we can really provide digital access, digital training, telehealth, all kinds of digital services in a community where unfortunately for Metro, they don't have to go because we're going to bring the services to them. So this is a grant that the county is helping us work on, and you're going to hear a lot more about it. And Wally has been working hard on getting us ready for that grant, which is going to be highly, highly competitive. I wanted to mention there's opportunities for Serve closed tonight. We have two we have two openings on the Metro Service Council. We only have one applicant so far. We're going to be hearing these at the steering committee on August 12th. And then it will come back to the board on August 22nd. So one person, so if you know of anybody else that wants to do Metro Service Council, please let us know, because it's a very important position. The person that has put his name in is John Kaji from Torrance, and we do not have any elected officials right now on that board. So, there is another opening. The next position that closed tonight is for the Cal Cities LA region, and we have 3 people that are interested in that. We're going to be taking interviews at the steering committee of those 3 people, and that's Assam, Barry, and Drew Boyles. So that's where we are with that. And next meeting, we're going to have the selection and a recommendation from the steering committee. The last item on the agenda that's really, really important is an action item. And I hate to bring these things to you. I hope you all have this sheet in front of you that says Sharp Business Services. What happened is today, we learned that Sharp Business Services, which handles the security on all of our computers and everything, they have been underbilling us significantly. And they're not coming back to retroactively, but they want us to start paying what we owe. And we do owe it. It's for the computers that we have. They have not been, they've been just adding computers and not charging us anymore. So they've asked us, we pay now $1,200 a month. They've asked us for a contract amendment of $21.04.35. So it's $2,105. We're asking you for, we need to get this budget agreement because they won't secure our computers. And so we need this done. And I want to make very clear, this does exceed our budget because what we put in our budget was what they told us, which was $1,200 a month. But we know that they're carrying some of our computers that we're going to take off. We haven't done an inventory. They never did an inventory with us. So we're taking off some computers, we're putting on some computers, we're working with them on their entire package, and we think we're going to be able to save money. But for tonight's purposes, we need to raise the budget allocation so that we can pay them what we owe them. If there is a budget amendment needed by January, we always do the mid-year budget. We'll come back, and obviously if we make any changes, we'll come back to you. But this is like an emergency item to keep our computers.
Are we allowed to ask questions for
No questions.
Hey, you like, I like that. Okay, so look, so check this out. So they install software that protects computers, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
David, you want to answer all these things?
That's more than that. They do that, and then they do like monitoring also.
Yeah, they.
Well, I get that. Well, I was coming to that next.
Okay, yeah.
And they monitor it. So then I would imagine their position is this: if they install software on 10 computers and they monitor them, that they almost have to double it if they put software on 20 computers here and monitor them. Isn't the monitoring somewhat automatic since it's electronic? Is it really seriously, the alert is going to come to the same central location and just 20 computers? And so I don't get that proportionate doubling. I don't understand that at all. They're not going to hire any more people. They're only duplicating the software they already own. And so I just think that we should know what we're doing if we agree to this. We're basically letting someone pass an imaginary cost on to us.
David, do you have any response to that?
I don't honestly know how their internal monitoring happens.
Actually, I do because we do it in Inglewood ourselves. We go ahead.
I think it's more than that, though. They provide technical support too.
Part of what we pay is also like
Yeah.
Office 365 licenses are part of that cost. So
And if we have like a problem, our staff
yeah,
needs,
they provide technical support.
yeah,
So
staff can't figure something.
part of what we've asked for is an itemized cost of the different services.
All right, no, I thought, from a man, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you, but that's not a proportionate
Can I ask, you're bringing up some really good points.
Mm-hmm.
I do, but I also haven't finished bringing them up yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I have a
It's not
suggestion.
even done
I
yet.
would like to hire the city of Inglewood to take care of our computers, please.
You guys, let me tell you something. This is what I do day in and day out at the city. And we were going broke. And I had us audited and we went through all these little, I'm not sure, kind way to say it, these ridiculous contracts where people were soaking us. And so all I'm saying is do it, but do it with your eyes wide open. There is not a proportionate, that decrease is not proportionate to adding the number of devices that you're talking about. If they're amortizing the software, say that they're not charging us for the software upfront and they're amortizing over the life of the contract, that's one thing. But tell me exactly what you're doing. So then there's all yours.
Okay, well, okay, this came up this afternoon. I'm thrilled that you're bringing all these things up because this is really important. I think that what they're telling us is they're charging us by computer, but I don't know because I haven't actually had time to look at the actual contract. What I'd like to do is ask you to authorize 1 month. And if they'll accept 1 month, we want to make sure that all of our computers are taken care of this month. And then we will come back next month. I think your questions are really good. And so, but I don't want to leave any of our computers.
No, and I totally understand that. And I think that's very wise. I also think it's equally wise to go out to different vendors and get a quote from them. Because when someone is sole source, they feel that they have a captive audience. And I'm not saying that's the case here. Maybe we'll find out that this is competitive. But let me tell you something, I doubt it.
Did we go out before?
We do it on to
That's how
bid
we
before.
selected them that way.
We selected them that way,
But how,
but it's been a few years. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they discover suddenly computer people that they've been undercharging us.
But if we go out to bid,
No, wait, it's $5,000 a
Yeah.
month. That's,
but if we go out to bid, we need at least
yeah, we
2
need more
months.
time.
yeah, I know,
So what do you think?
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I don't believe that they didn't know that they were undercharging us for how long?
But they said they changed personnel.
They've had staff turnover, yeah.
We got it.
I see. So now they've got
Everybody.
people that can count. I get it.
And how many computers are we talking?
35.
We were paying for
35.
19, but they were monitoring 35.
Oh, my goodness.
And,
Okay.
and what's difficult is it's things like something that's not exactly a computer, like, the photocopy machine, because it's connected to the computer system, so it's like considered like a unit.
And
So it's not like yeah.
Well, I think if they just told you about this today,
You don't have to.
then, you need to say, excuse me, we need a month to be able to do it because we can't get our board. We don't have any paperwork. We don't work that way. Because they can't expect you to jump the same day that they notify, especially since it's their error. They didn't catch it for how long? I mean,
Well, if they told us tomorrow, it'd still be a month before we could even meet to discuss it.
well, I understand, but for next meeting, just say, look, we don't have any information to do this. Can you present us so we can explain it as to where this is coming from? In the meantime, we'll try to work on getting rid of some things that could be gotten rid of so that we can pare it down because we don't have.
explain to us your billing methodology. How do you possibly charge a monitoring service by unit monitor? So that's how you make your money. I get that. But to double it, it's electronics. All these devices are being monitored electronically from the same place. Nothing changes. So, okay, so they gotta make their money, but we need to know if it's competitive. I just think.
Yes.
I agree with what they're saying, but honestly, we probably have a contract that says that they could probably go back and back charge us if they wanted to. So I'll put a little more positive of a spin on it. I appreciate the fact that they are not doing that. It's $900, yes, $900, but I think we should go ahead and pay them for this additional because they probably have documentation. I think we should remand it to the steering committee and just get it cleaned up.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Is that for a limited amount of time?
1 month,
This one.
Yeah, for 1 month.
1 month.
I absolutely. agree
Yeah,
with
1
that.
month.
Unless they've got a document.
It up.
Yeah, they got a document.
And competitively clean it up.
But it should be competitive. I
Absolutely.
Absolutely. agree.
Okay, call the question.
Mr. Chair, before you call it, could I just have supplement the direction consistent with what Mayor Botts is suggesting. I think it would be helpful, so we have some leverage to just understand through due diligence, how much we're paying compared to other vendors, if this is a 3-year-old contract, and just to confirm that this contract would run through fiscal year 2025, or it's terminable at any, with 2 months' notice is what I thought.
It's month to month.
It's month to
We're
month.
not locked into anything.
So my proposed friendly amendment, to offer direction that staff get competitive bids, just to understand where this.
Take that as friendly.
So we need more than a month.
Oh, it's fine. And I would say I'd go to all the steering committee meetings and our staff does a good job of making sure they get bids
Mhm.
and that it gets scrutinized. Well, I know you come to the steering committee too.
Although
Oh, okay. No, but they do it.
it may take work to get some bids on this one.
Especially,
We need-
it'll take more than a month.
Yeah, we need, at least 2 months to get the bids. But we could do that. Well, if we get them this month, right, it's too late to get into next month's steering committee. So we would be going into September steering committee. So we start working on it now, we wouldn't be able to get it to you until September. So we could do that.
Now, Jackie, we have an outside consultant. It's Santa Monica Systems, who I met when I was in Santa Monica, and they do these kind of things. I'd be glad to have him call you and just discuss it with you.
You can call David.
Call David? Okay, David, can somebody text me or email me David's phone?
And then I just have the monitoring. I'm just putting my head around the monitoring. What are they monitoring? Is it just for cybersecurity? Because, I mean, can't you just get like another suite? Like, McAfee or, why do you need to?
I think what they're saying is they install the monitoring system on your devices. And then when it detects something, it sends a signal to somebody there. And then they say, oh, there's a virus on this device. And they lock that out of the network. You see what I'm saying?
I see, yeah.
But the reality
We're all
is,
connected.
electricity travels at 186,000 miles per second.
Yeah.
So if it's that one or the one down there,
It's all.
or a
connected.
mile away, it makes no
Well,
difference.
I just want to make sure
Yes.
the monitoring that we're paying for is something at a level we need.
Well, they're
Yeah.
they're saying by device. They're basically
Yeah.
saying they're charging you by device.
And it is IT service too, so help desk, because we don't have any IT staff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough.
So the motion is 1 month, but get competitive bids. So that's gonna cause us a little bit of a problem.
We'll make it 2 months. Okay.
Yeah, make it 2
I
months.
say make it
I'm
2
fine
months,
making
but-
it 2 months as well.
It's making it 2 months.
Make it,
Thank you.
And we'll bring you back competitive bids.
that's fine.
I think Justin,
Oh,
It's a good question, not to belabor it.
We are.
35 devices, I know.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
35
I love it.
How many staff do we have at the COG? Are they monitoring cell phones and laptops and other stuff? I mean, that seems like.
Actually, what's happened is during COVID, we were remote, so we've had more desktops that had monitored pre-COVID. And now that we're doing a hoteling kind of hybrid system, we really don't need all of those desktop computers anymore because staff all has laptops. And so those are a lot of them that we can just decommission right away. We just moved one of those desktops into our small conference room to use as a Zoom computer there. And we can remove the old desktop that was there from the list. So we just have to kind of clean up the list. I think we identified 7 already that are easy to remove, no issues at all. So we need to clean up the list and figure out of the ones that remain, are they all the ones that we still actually need to? So
and this is a not to exceed. So if we
Right.
reduce, we reduce.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, for purposes of getting the bids, obviously we need to do the cleanup of the list.
Yeah.
Right.
We're good.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
question.
So the motion was for 2 months.
Billing methods.
And
Back to the steering committee.
Bids.
Other question?
okay, any opposition? Any abstention? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Events.
Okay, upcoming events? Anybody have stuff? I know everybody's probably got National Night Out coming. So, pick and choose or go to all of them or.
Ours.
I did want to say that we had yesterday the opening of the Chargers training facility. And they have their
In El
training practice in
Segundo.
El Segundo, so
I'll see some ticket.
kind of fun.
Are we invited?
No.
We had a ribbon cutting.
You missed it.
It's kind of cool.
Aren't they having an event like next week? I got it on my
You
phone.
get the emails, John, from the charters, every year they've been back in LA, they've invited you to go be in the chairman's tent. So if you
They left them off.
haven't gotten those?
I don't get those.
You must be.
Okay, and any other announcements, anything else? Go ahead.
Segundo is also having on the 17th, a big,
Barbershop quartet?
that too, they're having a big, custom car show.
Oh, yes,
And
August 17th.
Anyway, August
Yeah.
17th.
That one takes up Main Street.
And yes, we will be singing there.
And we do have the art walk coming up too.
Where we will be.
We will not be singing.
Yeah. El Segundo is up and coming.
Yep.
All right, stay hydrated.
Same as what we grew up with.
No, it's always been great.
Stay hydrated, visit your cooling stations, and we are adjourned until the 22nd.
Okay.
Do that gap.
And come to the installation dinner.
Unless we.
It's gonna be vice president. I'm going to be outgoing.
I don't know.
August
I'm
1st.
not sure.
You're going, yeah.
Does Leah need a
Yeah.
ride?